Hi, everyone. Welcome to our session here at Rutgers Online Learning Conference 2023. The name of our session is Incorporating Online Gaming into Research Ethics Training. My name is Hannah, and I am going to introduce Dr. Karun Singh. Dr. Singh, Karun K. Singh, is a professor of teaching at the Rutgers University School of Social Work. He received his PhD and MS degrees in social work from Columbia University. His teaching, research, and consulting interests focus on multidisciplinary nonprofit and public human services management, collaborative strategic planning, social entrepreneurship, and microaggressions prevention. In his classes, he regularly integrates the use of Zoom video conferencing technology and online interactive game simulations to inspire students. Karun presents at national and international conferences annually. Recent topics include burnout prevention, quality assurance, and artificial intelligence applications for social work managers.
Thank you, Hannah. I'm now going to introduce Mrs. Hannah Loffman, a former student of mine and now an alumna. So Hannah Loffman holds a BS in Human Development and an MSW with a concentration in Management and Policy from the Rutgers University School of Social Work. She currently serves as the assistant publisher for DC Witness, a nonprofit organization that utilizes data science to increase transparency within the criminal justice system. She is a remote research assistant for the Associate Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, for whom she continues to conduct research on nationwide diversity, equity, and inclusion practices. Having taken many asynchronous and remote synchronous online courses, Hannah enjoys replying to discussion board conversations, as well as interacting with participants online via Zoom. These new learning formats have fed her interest in virtual webinars and events.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. Moving into our workshop agenda, we just did our speaker introductions. We'll give the workshop overview, offer the learning objectives, give a workshop description, an online game demonstration, have time for audience questions and comments, kind of, and a workshop evaluation. So for the workshop overview, integrating modern communications technology into the classroom experience is of particular interest to students being educated in the new age of virtual gaming environments and online learning. Using the case of an online movie developed to simulate the interaction between research personnel in a well-funded lab, this workshop will train professors how to use internet-based simulations coupled with Zoom video conferencing technology for teaching students in a synchronous, remote, online course about effective ways to make decisions about integrity in research that can have long-term consequences. Our learning objectives today include audience members will learn why research integrity is important. Attendees will be able to utilize online gaming technology for teaching complex material in a fun way. And professors will be trained how to teach new skills by integrating online gaming assignments with Zoom technology into their remote, synchronous online courses.
Thank you, Hannah. I'm going to now talk about the workshop description. And this is very interesting. We're focusing on ethics. So ethical standards in the conduct of research are very important. Many different disciplines, institutions, and professions have standards for behavior that suit their particular aims and goals. These standards also help members of the discipline to coordinate their actions or activities and to establish the public's trust of the discipline. For instance, ethical standards govern conduct in social work, medicine, public health, law, engineering, and business. Ethical norms also serve the aims or goals of research and apply to people who conduct scientific research or other scholarly or creative activities. Next slide. There are several reasons why it is important to adhere to ethical norms in research. First, norms promote the aims of research such as knowledge, truth, and avoidance of error. For example, prohibitions against fabricating, falsifying, or misrepresenting research data promote the truth and minimize error. Second, since research often involves a great deal of cooperation and coordination among many different people in different disciplines and institutions, ethical standards promote the values that are essential to collaborative work, such as truth, accountability, mutual respect, and fairness. For example, many ethical norms in research, like guidelines for authorship, copyright and patenting policies, and confidentiality rules in peer review, are designed to protect intellectual property interests while encouraging collaboration. Many researchers want to receive credit for their contributions and do not want to have their ideas stolen or disclosed prematurely. Third, many of the ethical norms help to ensure that researchers can be held accountable to the public. For instance, federal policies on research misconduct, conflicts of interest, the human subject's protections, and animal care and use are necessary in order to make sure that researchers who are funded by public money can be held accountable to the public. Fourth, ethical norms in research also help to build public support for research. People are more likely to fund a research project if they can trust the quality and integrity of research. Finally, many of the norms of research promote a variety of other important moral and social values, such as social responsibility, human rights, animal welfare, compliance with the law, and public health and safety. Ethical lapses in research can significantly harm human and animal subjects, students, and the public. For instance, a researcher who fabricates data in a clinical trial may harm or even kill patients, and a researcher who fails to abide by regulations and guidelines relating to radiation or biological safety may jeopardize the health and safety or the health and safety of staff and students.
This presentation will train professors how to use internet-based simulations coupled with Zoom video conferencing technology for teaching students in a synchronous remote online course about effective ways to make decisions about integrity in research that can have long-term consequences. Students learn material in different ways. Integrating modern online technology into the course experience is of particular interest to students being educated in this new age of virtual gaming environments and online learning. While students have always been exposed to the importance of conducting research responsibly, what has changed has been the incorporation of online or web-based technologies that involve students in interactive ways to create and sustain their interests in a complex topic, which is also often perceived to be unnecessary and can be boring. This workshop will demonstrate the online game, The Lab, a free and powerful digital tool which allows players to become the lead characters in an interactive movie and make decisions about integrity in research that can have long-term consequences. The lab addresses responsible conduct of research topics such as avoiding research misconduct, mentorship responsibilities, handling of data, responsible authorship, and questionable research practices. This game was originally played by students in an in-person course, Program Development and Strategic Planning, when the campus was shut down due to COVID-19. This course was converted to a synchronous remote course, program development and strategic planning, with a different last two numbers, the first being 25, the second being 55. In this online course, students are instructed to play the lab with other students over Zoom. Students play the roles of professor, postdoc, graduate student, and research integrity officer. In this manner, students learn how to avoid making unethical decisions related to the conduct of research in a lab. The online class assignment is for all research, especially federally funded research with critical health and human service implications, must be conducted with integrity. Playing the online game, The Lab. We show the clip of the university executive forced to answer questions from a reporter who confronts him with the loss of $30 million in endowment funding for another project due to research misconduct associated with this lab. There are various roles. For example, professor and principal investigator, Aaron Hutchins, postdoc, Hardik Rowe, graduate student, Kim Park, and research integrity officer, Beth Ridgely. Click on different roles to showcase the respective issues the actors encounter. Students then discuss in breakout groups the dilemmas and consequences encountered by the characters. This training tool will help to train research project stakeholders, such as faculty and students, to avoid potential ethical pitfalls when collaborating with colleagues on fundraising, publishing, implementation, evaluation, and other tasks related to the conduct of well-done and ethical public interest research.
So this is where we're going to demonstrate the online game, The Lab. As we indicated, there are several characters, and in the interest of time, because we have a limited amount of time, we're going to focus on the role of Kim Park. She's a third-year graduate student in the lab who questions the use of her data by another researcher to demonstrate the dilemmas and consequences she faces. Hannah, can you start playing the lab, please?
It was a bad day. It started with just one reporter.
Excuse me, Mr. Ross.
Yes.
Paul Williams, Channel 8 News.
Okay.
Mr. Ross, researchers from a university are questioning some of the recent high-profile findings from one of your labs. Do you have any?
I'm sorry, I can't. You'll have to direct these questions to our general counsel.
But Mr. Ross,
Sorry, I have a meeting. A scientist from a competing lab decided to go public with suspicions that some very celebrated research from our university had been falsified.
Some research that it was hoped might lead to breakthroughs in the treatment of diabetes might not be all it first appeared to be. Paula Williams has the story.
we don't hear much about the world of test tubes and lab rats until there's a major breakthrough with major public health implications. Add federal dollars and accusations of fraud to the equation, and you have a potentially explosive story.
I was very interested in this paper. My lab's been doing very similar work.
But it blew up pretty quickly.
The preliminary assessment indicates there are grounds for moving forward and looking into all the research with which this individual is involved.
But
We decided that further investigation is required to determine whether research misconduct has occurred.
it turned out badly.
9 months after allegations of research misconduct, a young scientist here who seemed to have a bright future ahead of him has finally admitted to falsifying his research.
The investigation turned up multiple instances of research misconduct by this individual over the course of a couple of years. Along the way, there were people in the lab who had questions but didn't speak up. There were people who had responsibility for oversight who didn't properly exercise that responsibility. There were people who knew what was right and didn't do the right thing. And
Is it true the McCrary family is withdrawing their commitment to establish a $30 million research endowment for your university?
Well, yes, as you know, they made that announcement today.
it just turned into the proverbial perfect storm.
After findings of professional misconduct and with the mounting pressure of widespread bad publicity and more unhappy donors threatening to pull their funding, the principal investigator from this troubled lab, who had been placed on probation, has finally been dismissed.
The PI was let go, his lab was shut down. Postdocs, grad students, lab techs, all scrambling to find a new place to continue their work. Many while dealing with the stigma that comes from a tainted lab. But you know what? It didn't really happen. Oh, I mean, it did, but it didn't. Because with this program, unlike real life, you get to go back in time. You can become a grad student, a postdoc, a PI, or a research integrity officer. You get a chance to enter an alternate reality as any of these characters, walk in their shoes, experience their lives, and practice making the choices that will advance the integrity and research. This outcome can be avoided. It's up to you to figure out how.
Okay, now Hannah will choose the role of Kim Park. Yeah, Kim Park.
I'll be Yingling, please.
I'll have a Guinness, please, and I'll have White Russian. White Russian? When did you start drinking that?
Seriously, dude, who drinks a White Russian?
Listen, this unchecked aggression will not stand. I don't know about that one, Steve.
This is you, Kim Park. You're 25 today and a third-year graduate student. You're almost done with all of your coursework, have already co-authored 2 journal articles, and are way ahead of schedule to receive your PhD. Steve here is probably your closest friend from your lab. He's a lot of fun, even if he does like to gossip a little and keep things stirred up. And Hardik is one of your lab's postdocs. He's another friend too, but he's also someone you and Steve look up to. Hopefully, in the next year or 2, you'll be a postdoc in a lab doing important work like he is.
So, to our friend Kim Park on her birthday, many happy returns of the day and a good year to come.
Thank you.
Can I get a cherry?
Oh, you know what? Get him a slice of kiwi or a kumquat.
Shut up. Oh, excuse me.
Later,
Sorry about that, guys. The wife.
When's she expecting to drop?
3 months.
You must be excited.
Oh yeah, excited, anxious, a little scared.
What's the problem? She goes tomorrow.
It's your turn to present at the weekly meeting. I almost forgot.
She's nervous.
I'm not nervous.
She gets nervous every time she has to present.
I didn't know that.
I do not get nervous. Okay, maybe a little bit. Look, it's hard enough to explain that most of your experiments aren't going anywhere, but then to have to deal with Greg and his questions.
Greg's the other postdoc in your lab.
It's just being inquisitive. He asks everyone questions, including me. It doesn't mean any harm.
I know. He's a great guy. And he is always willing to help.
Yes, we all like Greg, and we all know that you like him more than most.
Your friends know that you and Greg had a brief fling and that it's still a sensitive topic for you.
But still, Hardik, let me ask you, why is it that Greg is the only one Aaron allows to ask questions at the weekly meetings?
It's not. Anyone can ask questions, just no one does.
Okay, still, there are Greg rules.
What are Greg rules?
Come on, Hardik. You know that Aaron has different standards for Greg.
Well, if that's true, it's really not Greg's fault, is it? It's probably just because Greg has been with Aaron since he was a grad student. They've been through a lot together.
Anyway, I don't mind the questions. I just really want to impress him just once before I leave here. Why are we talking about this? It is my birthday. We should not be talking about this.
What should we be talking about?
How young I look.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could easily pass a what? 24?
24 and a half.
You guys stop. You two do know that you're buying all night, right? Okay.
And the next day,
Over here.
Excuse me, Kim, I have a question. Something here doesn't quite make sense.
Okay.
Look at the lovebirds.
Life status, talented and promising. You're on your way to earning your PhD degree early and then on to a successful career as a scientist. Next.
Monday mornings. Gotta love them.
Hey, Kim, an article Aaron and I submitted was accepted. These are the proofs of the final copy. I'm listing you as a co-author.
What do you mean?
I used some data from your rotation project.
From like 3 years ago?
Hold on, shouldn't he have asked you if it was okay to use your data? And why is he just now showing you a draft of the paper?
I know. I should have asked you first. And seeing a draft before today would have been nice, right? I'm sorry. It was just an oversight. Can you ever forgive me, sweetheart?
I suppose.
I need you to sign this. It has to go out today.
You know, technically, you should read the proofs before you sign, but you just want to enjoy your coffee alone.
What do you want to do? Tell him you need to read it or just sign? Hannah.
I would probably tell him I need to read it.
Okay, click that.
I'm not just gonna sign this. I need to read it first.
But it needs to go out today, sweetie.
Won't take me forever. We're not talking about War and Peace here. Leave the article with me. You can come back later for it. Sweetie.
You're killing me.
You asked Greg to give you the article, but you were just trying to make a point. Do you really have time to read it?
Hey, you ready to get started? I downloaded this Johnny Cash Wu-Tang mashup. Cash rules everything around me. It actually doesn't suck too bad. Figured we could listen to it.
You're sure that because your experiment is such a small part of the article that there's little, if anything, for you to check. You can read it after it's published.
What do you want to do? Read the article, skip reading and get back to work? What do you want to do? Read the article or skip reading and get back to work?
I'm going to go with reading the article.
So you decide to read the article.
I'll catch you later. I have to read this.
What is it?
One of Greg's articles got accepted and they're listing me as a co-author.
Okay. Well, when you're done, me, Johnny, and the Rizzo will be waiting. 'Cause I'm stuck in Folsom Prison and time keeps dragging on. Woo, woo, woo! And that train down to San Antonio. Woo, woo, woo!
Later, you read the article. Then you read it again. And then you read it again. Something isn't right. These weren't the results you remember from your rotation project. The published figures feature Western blots that appear to be different, and the disparity between the control group seems more dramatic. While you don't have a photographic memory of the original film, you'd never forget the results. Your parents live about an hour away from campus, and the following weekend, you decide to visit your mother. You figure your mother would be a good person to talk to about the article.
What does it mean that the figure was different?
It probably means that Greg or someone made a mistake.
It would have to be more than a little mistake.
Yeah, it'd be huge. You'd really have to take your eyes off the road almost completely to screw up like this.
Or
what?
Or maybe it wasn't a mistake.
What do you mean?
Maybe the data was changed on purpose to match the outcome someone wanted.
Yeah, I don't know, Mom. That seems a little far-fetched.
Well,
And Greg wouldn't do something like that. He doesn't have to do something like that.
well, we're just throwing out some ideas of what could have happened.
Right.
The good thing is you didn't make a mistake and you didn't do anything wrong. So you'll be okay.
Yeah. But well, I was thinking of bringing this up with someone, like maybe my PI,
Why would you do something like that?
because something wrong happened here.
Well, this will be number 3, right?
My third publication, yeah.
I say, leave well enough alone, honey.
Mom,
If this mistake were meant to be discovered, it would be. But you don't have to be the one to discover it.
Mom, listen. Science is about integrity. If it doesn't matter how many discoveries you make, if there's no integrity, then it all falls apart.
I understand that, honey.
And
But
so I should probably do something. Don't you think?
listen, I don't want you to mess things up for yourself, Kim. You're almost finished.
You know,
And when you finally get that degree, you're the first person in the family with a PhD.
I know.
Oh, me and your father are so proud of you. We brag about you at church all the time. We say, Kim will be a doctor soon. Not the kind that will save lives, but a doctor nonetheless.
You brag about me at church.
Of course, at church, the grocery store, the library, everywhere.
And you don't have the heart to tell your mom that if you come forward, the article may have to be retracted, which would be a setback and could mean one less publication under your belt. This could affect how soon you complete your degree and possibly make you less attractive when you look for jobs after school.
I'm really happy that you're a scientist, but I wondered, why didn't you go into law like your brother?
Oh, Mom, don't start.
Problems like this.
Well, that was helpful. You still haven't settled on what to do about the article, if anything. There are a lot of directions you can go.
So we're gonna stop here, but we just want the audience to go back 1 second, please, if you can. We just want the audience to think about, should they ask Greg about the article? Should she let it go or seek out more advice about what to do? It's an example of the types of dilemmas that people encounter in the research labs. Hannah?
So a big thank you to everyone for attending. And if you would like to follow up with either of us or both of us regarding this workshop, please feel free to email us accordingly. Dr. Singh's email is written out there, karun@ssw.rutgers.edu, or my email, hil9@scarletmail.rutgers.edu. And it would be wonderful if you could all also fill out the workshop evaluation, because we would love your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much, Hannah, for co-presenting.